course, we are waiting for a lot of inaugural balls throughout Washington, D.C. Some say after the swearing in. The best part are all of the parties that happen. But let's take a moment now to look back at all of the festivities that happened today. CNN's Candy Crowley joins us live from Washington. Candy, what an amazing day, and it's not even over. It's going into the wee hours of the morning. From your perch, what do you think was the most amazing part?
I don't know how you can turn your back on history when Barack Obama put his hand on that Bible that Lincoln used and got sworn in as the first African-American president of the United States. I mean, it's hard to beat that for a moment. You know, as reporters, you cover a lot of tribulation and not a lot of real heartbeats, and this was a heartbeat in history, and it was just amazing to be able to be there. But there were other moments that struck me. One was just looking out at that mass, 1.5 million people out on Washington's Mall, and if you were in it, it was a diverse crowd of people, old and young. And when you sort of moved away from it and up on the steps of the Capitol, you saw kind of one moving sort of tapestry. I mean, it really was kind of amazing, the imagery that all of those people made. And even I think the look of former President Bush's helicopter kind of disappearing over to the horizon as it went to Andrews Air Force Base. And here is a man that an hour earlier had been the leader of the Western world, and now he has no power and he's going home to live in Dallas. So I found that to be particularly poignant. And then you showed some pictures earlier of Barack Obama on the parade route when he got out, and I was on a flatbed truck right in front of him, so we were pretty up close most of the time. But you didn't need to see him, as you heard, to know that he'd gotten out of the car, because people went crazy. And they were hanging out of the windows, not dangerously, and they were literally rimming the rooftops of so many Washington buildings, waving down. I mean, there were just so many people there, so excited to see him. And he excited to see them. It seems to me that he enjoyed that part a lot more probably than the swearing in. Very, very different things, obviously. One so solemn and the other such a celebration. But there were lots of takeaway moments of this day, and most of them pictures. Most of them. Candy, how did you get on a flatbed truck, may I ask? Well, now remembering it was 8 degrees, it was one of the positions that they gave to the network so that you could have that just head-on shot of him. And it was just, of all the presidents to do that for, and I'd never done it before. I usually been on the platform somewhere up, closer to the swearing in. But this was a lot of fun just to see people so excited. And some people would sort of see him in one block and wave and get all excited, and then they would race 2 blocks down so they could see him again and wave again. So it was just a lot of young people having some fun. Even going on a flatbed truck. All right, Candy. Right. How do you think the president has evolved from candidate Obama now to President Obama? Because you have been there covering him really every step of the way. It's been interesting. I first interviewed Barack Obama in 2004. I was on the platform at the Democratic convention for John Kerry, and of course that's when Barack Obama gave that speech about red states and blue states, and so he was a sort of an instant hit. And I remember talking to people who knew Barack Obama from Illinois that day, and they had on Obama for President buttons then. I thought, what are they talking about? That was 2004, so here we are, and so it was really interesting to kind of follow this from that moment to his first exploratory trip to Iowa, to his announcement in Springfield, Illinois, and then all the way through to this sort of a full circle experience. And I think, like all candidates, the closer they move to the presidency or to the nomination, the more you see them change and the more you can see them in the role of president. Very few candidates that I know of, unless they're incumbents, start out looking presidential. And I thought today that you began to see when President Obama, shortly before he was sworn in, was walking down the steps of the Capitol, and you saw this very serious, and you thought, oh, this is his presidential face. He just was so serious and sort of taking in the moment, contemplating the moment. And then you contrast that with with the Barack Obama who sat in the reviewing stand and watched all those children come by with their bands and their tumbling and all of that, and it seemed to me that he and First Lady Michelle Obama were having a great time, and that's the Barack Obama that you did see on the campaign trail a lot. They like to have fun. They get great joy out of their children. It's pretty obvious, and she's been especially good, I think, with kids. And so when they were in that reviewing stand, I saw a lot more of the Barack Obama that I knew going along than that kind of somber walk down the steps.
The real guy. We saw him at the Commander-in-Chief's ball talking to some of the military servicemen and women and asking them if they're a White Sox fan or a Cubs fan. Right. That kind of guy. Yeah. In terms of the speeches, Candy, have you seen the speech writing evolve as well?
Well, I have, and somebody asked me today about today's speech, and I didn't think it was like one of those history book speeches that will all go back to, like, JFK asked not what your country can do for you, we have nothing to fear but fear itself, and those sorts of catchphrases that just became a part of American history. I don't think there were any of those in there, but Barack Obama at this point does not need to be an inspirational figure. That's how he got to the White House. There are so many people supporting him that I think this had to be a speech to sort of take the inspiration that people have and turn it into real support and real action. So I think he didn't need to give, and in fact shouldn't have given, another rhetorical flourish speech. I think he needed to give a, look, there's hope, we can do this, but boy, it's going to be tough. I think that there was a lot of Barack Obama in there, and the quintessential Obama to me is a big vision dreamer guy with a lot of caution. And I think you saw that in his speech today rather than the rhetoric you were used to hearing on the campaign trail. Because, first of all, as I say, he has already inspired people. Now he needs to channel that inspiration. But also because being a candidate and trying to get people to vote for you is quite different from being a president and trying to get people to support you.